I want to give you an overview tour of amines, look at some structures, and talk about their properties. Once I've gone through the list that I've put together today, I think you may agree with me that amines are the most important functionality on the planet. I know aldehydes and ketones are important, carboxylic acid derivatives, alcohols. They all are important, but the uses and functions, especially the biological functions of amines, are extremely impressive. Take a look. The first one I have on my list is dopamine. It's an aromatic phenol even, but in particular it's an amine. It's a neurotransmitter, and its concentration in the brain is an important factor in our mental health. I put cunene on the list because it's the active constituent in a potion derived from hemlock. In early Greek society, a commonly used method of execution. Cunene is the lethal ingredient. Its most famous victim, of course, is Socrates. I've put meth on the list, methamphetamine. It's a viciously addictive compound, dramatically affects psychological health and behavior. And because of its relatively simple structure, it's fairly easy to make, which means it's rather widely available and has destroyed many lives as a result. Morphine is another addictive compound, but it's an important tool that physicians use to control pain. Because it's addictive, it has to be used carefully, and because it can be fatal, because it depresses respiration, it has to be used very carefully. If this hydroxyl group is methoxy, the compound is codeine, and it too is addictive. I put this general formulation for an amino acid on here because amino acids are key building blocks in proteins and peptides. In fact, amino acids generally account for the catalytic behavior of amines and peptides, and so they're critical for life. Often they'd be called alpha amino acids because the amino group appears on the alpha carbon. And what this R structure is determines the exact nature of the amino acids we're talking about. There's close to 2 dozen that turn out to be found in peptides and proteins. And while we're talking about biological materials, here's cytosine, one of the components of nucleic acids, RNA and DNA. As you look at this structure, you could think of it as an amide. It is, but also it's a primary amine. I put pyridine on the list because it's a very important organic chemical. It's a relatively mild base and finds great use in organic synthesis. Don't take a strong smell of pyridine. If you do, it's an experience you'll never forget. I mention that because a lot of amines smell bad or even worse than that. While pyridine is commonly used as a base in organic synthesis, Mother Nature uses a different base, imidazole, and it has just the right basicity to accept protons and donate protons in a physiological pH environment. As a structural component of proteins and peptides, it plays a really important role in catalytic functions of these compounds. Cadaverine might give you a sense of just how disgusting this compound smells. It's a C5 diamino compound, and it's a product of the degradation of tissue. A very similar compound is a key building block for nylon. This is 1,6-hexane diamine rather than 1,5-hexane diamine. This diamino compound is reacted with a diacid to make long chains of nylon. And speaking of polymers that are very valuable, Kevlar is made up from a diamine. This is para-diaminobenzene, and it's one of 2 building blocks used to make Kevlar. This is the stronger than steel stuff that's used in body armor, helmets for military uses and sports uses. It's even used to protect fiber optic cable, which otherwise would be rather fragile. I put butylamine on the list because it's headed toward a very small molecule, and it just reminds me to tell you that the smaller amines have a variety of uses in organic synthesis and have pretty fishy odors that are rather unpleasant. And finally, the smallest amine on the planet, methylamine. It's very similar to ammonia. It has a methyl group rather than that third hydrogen. And your nose would tell you it's similar to ammonia. It smells like ammonia and has roughly the same effect on the olfactory system and the eyes. So there's a brief survey of the compounds I have on my list today that help make the argument of how important amines are to us biologically, chemically.